Like I said before on Twitter, do you ever have just a moment where you are just happy for one single moment? Well, ladies and gentlemen, that moment has indeed arrived today. I am Nate the Effing Great. Welcome to the Game Changer, and it's a very special edition. It is the build-up to Survivor Series. Guaranteed we're going to do it better than Raw and SmackDown are going to do. Sorry, guys, but we're just that awesome. I'm being joined here by a very special guest. He is what you would call a legend. Wait for it. Dairy figure on Twitter. He is the third man in the Game Changer podcast prediction battle team. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm being joined here by the one, the only, the fantastic, phenomenal. Too many adjectives to describe this man, but the one that really sticks out the most is that he stuck it to the Kings of the Rings podcast. He is indeed Mr. James Fretz. Welcome, my friend, and thank you so much for being a part of the team.
Mr. Fretz, baby! Boom.
So for those of you that did not get a chance to see it, big reveal on Twitter, where have you been for the last 24 hours? We made the shocking reveal, and as the song indicated, we shocked the system, dropping a bombshell on the Kings of the Ring podcast by introducing Mr. Fretz. Now, obviously, I could have gone with a couple of different people. I mean, I could have chose Nikki Skywalker because she would love nothing more than to see King Ricky get taken down a peg. I could have chose, the one and only Mr. Slack just to be funny, but then I thought,
fuck Slack.
Hey, I was.
Come on.
I understand that, and I can give him a hard time about it, but I also have to state the fact, and I'm going to address this on the Kings of the Ring podcast too, that I am also a member of Team Slack as far as we're concerned. So, Mr. Will, you're not the only one anymore. But also, I thought to myself, it has to be somebody monumental, somebody who they just really enjoy. And obviously, you can't get any bigger than Mr. Fretz, because honestly, as he definitely showed in the GIF, this was literally like Hulk Hogan turning heel in WCW. This was a monumental deal, and as you said, we are going to do one thing and one thing only when it comes to the King of the Ring podcast, and that is
shock the system.
Yeah, buddy, we are going to also take over. Ladies and gentlemen, we are here, and we are here to talk about one thing only, and that is a Survivor Series deal that happened 20 years ago, and it was called the Deadly Games Tournament. The one time that Survivor Series... Oh my gosh. I remember they did like a remix of that, like, what was it, years after that with, I think it was Theory of a Dead Man, if I'm not mistaken, or something like that. But it was not as good as the original. I honestly like the original better. I think the second one definitely works as kind of like a theme or like a music for an event, but Deadly Games' original theme music is better. But yeah, Deadly Games Survivor Series 1998. Basically what ends up happening, guys, is that it's a one-night tournament to determine who would be the new WWF champion after some controversy took place at, I think it was In Your House. Was it like In Your House Unforgiven or something like that? I can't remember.
It started at Breakdown with The Undertaker and Kane defeating Stone Cold Steve Austin for the title and both pitting him at the same time. McMahon has the title, and then it was like, Undertaker and Kane are gonna wrestle in the main event of Judgment Day. Stone Cold, you're the referee, and if you don't call it down the middle, you're fired. And logically, he didn't. And then we get the legendary, he pulls a quote-unquote gun on Vince.
Oh my God.
Bang 316, and he pissed his pants.
Oh my God, that was just such a beautiful moment. I do remember that. The McMahon 316 says, I just pissed my pants. And he just stunners him just for good measure. I also love when they did, I think it was like Raw Homecoming, and they addressed that. Vince McMahon tried to explain himself. He's just like, I had trouble controlling my bowels, and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, dude, do you think anybody wants to hear that? No, thank you. Just shut up. We're enjoying this moment.
316, man. Come on, Vince.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, so this basically built up to the Deadly Games tournament, and basically it's centered around three people, seemingly. The fact that McMahon did not want Austin to win, the fact that he wanted his, chosen one, Mick Foley, to win, Mankind at the time, as well as not having the quote-unquote people's champ at the time, The Rock, to win. But guys, we kind of know how that ends up. But let's just go right into it. There were a couple matches that actually happened, I guess you could call it as like a pre-show, per se. Couple dark matches here. Yeah, we could call it heat, whatever they called it then. But I don't think they really broadcast these. There were 4 matches here in which we see Too Much, Brian Christopher, and Scott Taylor defeating the Hardy Boys. The Job Squad, Bob Holly and Scorpio. Oh my god, I cannot believe that was a thing back then. Defeating the Legion of Doom, which was Animal and Droz.
Oh, don't remind me of LOD. LOD, remember the product, I think it was called 2000 Flushes. It's a little puck you put in your toilet and it cleans it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, that. I remember like an issue of PWI back then had the unofficial official awards, and it was 2000 LOD 2000 Flushes. What happened to their career?
Oh my god, that's saying a lot. Holy cow!
And that's back when they had that stupid work shoot Hawk has a drug problem angle too.
Oh my god, jeez Louise, that's jeez. All right, going to Happy Places. Happy Place. We had Val Venus defeating Tiger Ali Singh.
That's a happy place. Tiger Ali Singh.
I didn't realize that was the worst transition for me. And then also we had
secret shame.
Yeah, and then we also had Gangrel defeating Steve Blackman. And during this time, this was when Gangrel still had Edge and Christian outside as part of the Brood. And we can't deny the Brood was still pretty awesome back then.
And so is the New Day as the Brood too.
That is very true. Oh my god, that was hilarious. I
didn't. With the little flames.
Oh my gosh, the callback, that was amazing. All right, so we get into the first round matchup that lasted only 30 seconds, in which we had Mankind defeating a familiar face down the line in our boy, the one and only Dwayne Gill. Oh dear God Almighty!
The build up to that was just perfect. I mean, before that match, I mean, first off, the stage. We have to talk about the stage. It's my favorite stage in WrestleMania 2000 for 64, by the way.
Oh, that's right.
That big deadly game skull. And before the match, when Vince is starting to cut his promo about this this famous guy went to WCW for a bit, made his debut in 1990. But he starts off his speech with the classic the moon landing. It's like, one giant leap off the Hell in a Cell for mankind. And Mick Foley's out in a suit and tie. He had a shave. I mean, you can't really see. I got like a Wicked Movember going here, maybe with like a Hulk Hogan kind of look, trying. But he quotes the moon landing when he's talking about Mick Foley. But did you notice what he came out with, Mick Foley?
Didn't he come out in like a suit or something like that?
Yeah, he had something with him. He had something on his shoulders.
Oh my gosh, I think I know what it is. Wasn't it the hardcore title?
Yep, it was just gifted to him.
That's right, I remember that.
Now,
oh my god.
We have this sidebar for like 2 seconds. Just rapid fire, best hardcore title moments. Go.
Alright, I would definitely have to say Crash Holly at the Playland area. All the stuff that he did with the headbangers was just absolutely hilarious. Him doing like a diving clothesline in the ball pit, doing the head scissors with that rope deal. A lot of times when Crash Holly had that hardcore title, it was just absolutely funny. But I think the Playland one was the one that really stood out to me the most.
And he saved us from seeing the rest of an evening gown match with 2 60-year-old men.
That's right. Gosh, Crash Holly, rest in peace. And also, you are a gift to us in professional wrestling. He needs to be in the Hall of Fame.
Like one of my low-key favorites. I mean, if anyone that listens to OSW Review knows they have their boys, and they refuse to adopt Crash Holly. Now, I watch Steven V1 on Twitch all the time, and we go back and forth about adopting Crash. Like, he's been one of my low-key favorites since, what was that? Yeah, I was about 16 when he made his, like, hardcore title debut, so...
Oh, gosh. That just... I'm going to get sad now. But yeah, like I said, this matchup was like 30 seconds. Mankind basically defeating him in a squash, advances on in the first round. Need we say any more than that?
Well, there was HBK chance at the beginning because everyone was all sold on him coming back already. Also, Mankind's awesome piano exit theme.
Dear Lord.
I mean, it wore out its welcome by about 97, but it's still iconic. It doesn't suit a face Mick Foley, but we're going to see a new theme in the new year when he, spoiler alert, puts butts in the seat on Monday Night Raw.
This is very true. All right. Next first round matchup was Jeff Jarrett with Deborah taking on Al Snow with Head. Honestly, I am shocked at how well Al Snow was able to go back in the day. This was one of those matches where I literally had like little expectations for it, but then after I got done watching, I'm like, holy crap, Al Snow can go. That was
very
like
good.
That was absolutely astonishing. And, you know, you have another great wrestler in Jeff Jarrett. Honestly, I would say that this would have been match of the night, but it definitely was one of those matches where a lot of people were like, wow, this is actually a lot better than we really gave it credit for. It was awesome.
And this is one of the first times that that JR used the term Jezebel on a heel woman.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, we you know where it comes from, the Bible, right?
Oh, yes, definitely.
Yeah, it's to attribute to a very a woman of low moral standards, and like Deborah, she's a sweet Southern girl who makes her famous Deborah cookies and shows her tits. I mean, that doesn't sound like a Jezebel to me. I mean, a Jezebel would be like, well, you know, Jezebel from, was it First Kings or whatever, or from wherever?
Something like that, yeah.
And they were like, you know, and I think either JR or King asked, you know, what does she know about Head? Giggity.
Oh my god, that is amazing. Yeah, honestly, like I said, this matchup was pretty good. Al Snow, good god, you can go. And I really need to watch more of his stuff during that Attitude Era time because I really feel like I have been undervaluing him. But Al Snow picked up the victory against Jeff Jarrett in what is, I wouldn't say like a shock, but it was kind of those things where it's like, wow, he's gotten further than a lot of people expected for him to. All right. Oh, you were going to say something?
No, I was just nodding. I was going to get something, but it was just something about Head.
Oh, god dang it. Next matchup we had on here was Stone Cold Steve Austin taking on the Big Boss Man. Yeah, basically this is where most of the story was picking up, was the fact that Stone Cold is battling this, well, before they made it into the full-on corporation deal, just taking on Vince's big boys. And Big Boss Man was indeed, no pun intended, a big gun for Vince McMahon. Now, unfortunately, he did not get the job done, but I think there's some highlights throughout the matchup that you have that probably do need to be addressed during this.
Oh, just the fact that, you know, Big Boss Man, he was back from WCW, and he dropped about 100 pounds. It was really nothing special. It was just, you know, the Jim Duggan special, you brawl backstage. And it's a nightstick and a DQ.
Yep, so
however, the next one we have, the next match we have, I have a lot to say.
Before we get into that, I feel like we need to set the mood just a little bit as to, you know, how great this matchup could have been, but it also had one of the greatest theme musics of all time. Hold on, ladies and gentlemen, and please bear with us. Yeah, we have a lot of nostalgia for just that theme song alone, because it is not William Regal, but Steven Regal taking on X-Pac in another first-round matchup. To my knowledge, I think with a lot of these first-round matches, didn't they have like a time limit, per se?
The first round was a 10-minute time limit, and I believe the semifinals were 15 or 20, and then, you know, the final, blank versus blank, was, I don't know, an hour, I think.
Yeah, fair enough. So, that was kind of one of those things to sort of bear in mind during this matchup, but Steven Regal versus X-Pac, literally William Regal dressed up as a construction worker. My God.
doing manly things. And here's the scoop I was going to tell you about off air. So if anyone listens to the Attitude Era podcast, you probably already know this story. So when I heard it, I compared it to this. You watch Futurama, right?
Yeah.
Okay, do you remember the episode where Bender joins the Ultimate Robot Fighting League?
Oh my gosh, I'm having like hazy thoughts about it, but yeah, I think I do recall that one.
Okay, so he starts off as like this was 2000, so this was peak Attitude Era Austin. So he was kind of like an Austin kind of character, but he was also just, I'm just an ex-con trying to go straight and get my kids back. And eventually, his boss, the McMahon figure in this episode, was like, now, you know what? People love you. Now we're going to get them to hate you. So you're going to become the gender bender. So he comes out in like a frilly pink tutu and a wig. So this Real Man's Man thing was allegedly, according to Attitude Era podcast, and from there I think it was from Surprise Vince Russo, that this Man's Man thing was going to be a facade, and that it would turn out that Steven Regal is a closeted homosexual.
Oh, dear God.
I mean, given the fact that it was late 98 and into early 99, it's, looking back now, it's not surprising because, I mean, let's face it, we dropped the other F-bomb on people. We all did it, as unfortunate and as, bad it is to look back on. To come up with that, and the fact that, unfortunately, like, Regal, he was absolutely wasted during this whole run. He says he doesn't even remember it.
I can't exactly blame him because I think you'd have to be pretty, you had to take something to try to make this deal work because literally just, oh gosh, I'm so glad that they definitely went down a different path with him in the future and they actually made him kind of more of a, presentable gentleman deal. But of course, right now we're stuck with Steven Regal, which, he could be a brawler, which was really good to see. The matchup here against X-Pac, again, nothing too crazy. It was one of the more longer matches of these first rounds with 8 minutes and 10 seconds. But it ends in a double countout. And I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, they tried to do like an overtime deal, but X-Pac's just like, no, I'm good. I'm good. I'm leaving.
He was hurting. Like, he was hurting in that match. Like, he took a couple of spots. He took, like, a slam, or like a suplex or something, and you just hear him loudly go, shit! And a really neat line from here, even though Steven Regal wasn't being the blue blood at this point in time, there was a line that, Lawler was like, Steven Regal told me that no American should be European champion! Ha-ha! X-Pac had the European title at this point in time.
Oh.
There was a couple of wickets, but this was a damn good match. I mean, you had some spots where, you had the octopus stretch, you had Regal do, like, when you pick him up for a Boston Crab and do a slingshot, usually into the turnbuckle.
Yeah.
He slingshotted it into nothing, did a face plant.
Jeez.
And there was a submission move in there that looked like almost like a precursor to Charlie Haas, the Haas of Pain.
Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking about.
And the super butterfly suplex, X-Pac goes for the Bronco Buster, and he misses. And I remember one time on his podcast, he talked about the time he tore his butthole doing that move.
Oh, God.
Like, just killed it. And with this count-out, Stone Cold Steve Austin gets a bye.
And of course, Vince McMahon's backstage like, no, you two, why?
There was also very little backstage stuff. We're going through about 14 matches here, and it's just they're going, and I kind of like that. Even though they had to give us a Sable promo.
Oh, trust me, we're not to that point yet, but it's going to be a really, really very tough deal to go through. But all right, so we move on from that to Mr. UFC at the time, the Intercontinental Champion Ken Shamrock taking on Goldust. Now, This was one of those matches that, of course, would also take place at, I think, it would be WrestleMania 15 too, because then they had that 4-way matchup, which, oh god, it did not go anywhere. But yeah, at the time, Ken Shamrock was definitely still one of the hotter guys of the company, and having him as the Intercontinental Champion definitely really made things very interesting. And actually, this is kind of crazy, because actually, what would be a later matchup throughout the show would be Ken Shamrock versus Mr. People's Champion. Basically, McMahon had this agenda where basically he said, okay, you can be in the Deadly Games tournament, but you have to beat Ken Shamrock for the IC title. Rock won by disqualification, which means the title could not change hands. So it was just a deal where he made Ken Shamrock into a bit of a pawn to him. But still, Ken Shamrock looked great. I mean, all throughout his career, he still was one of those guys who, yes, he had a bit of a temper, but he always found a way to really be one of those guys that a lot of people just want to see. He was kind of like the smaller attraction to a lot of the bigger names, but he was still one of those like staples in the company that a lot of people would watch and be like, okay, we got this great match. We have Austin, we have Rock, we have Mankind, we have blah, blah, blah. But, then they talk about the undercards, like, oh, Ken Shamrock, because he could kick so much ass.
We can't cut a promo to save his life, unfortunately.
You know what? We're highlighting the positives here, okay?
I know. I got some negatives here, so we'll highlight that first. But
yeah.
Shamrock he was always on the cusp of that main event push. I mean, I think he should have got it maybe around, actually before this, maybe around early '98. Maybe he should have had the title a bit earlier. But when he kept losing those matches by disqualification, when he bopped British Bulldog in the face with a dog food can in at SummerSlam '97, one of the most hilarious things I've ever seen.
Jeez Louise.
And just him snapping all the time. It made a good story, but you made him look stupid.
No, you say that now, and that kind of does give a different little bit of a vision on that, which does suck. But, honestly, Ken Shamrock wins with the ankle lock. Let's face it, I think that a lot of people knew Goldust was not going to be passing by, and a lot of people were hoping, this could be Ken Shamrock's, push. It might be his time. It might be getting there. He's getting there, but not quite there yet. But honestly, was there any other highlights besides the ankle lock deal, or was there anything worth noting in this match?
Well, the fact that Goldust got a pop. I mean, he had just returned the last month at Judgment Day. Like on my blog, I just did a review of Judgment Day because it was 20 years ago in October. I look back on my life like I was in 9th grade, and the fact that it was one of the first pay-per-views my friends taped for me on that deal we talked about, where you can kind of not really steal satellite pay-per-views, the precursor to BitTorrents, let's say. And he had a huge pop when he returned because he had this preachy born-again Christian gimmick where he would come out and say, he is coming back. Of course, you'd think he'd be alluding to Jesus Christ. That's a theological conversation for another time, but when he came back as Goldust, he was damn popular. But unfortunately, I think this is around the time Terry, who was trying to get out of, being their manager and their wife, she was pregnant, and there was like a miscarriage angle, and back then Gene Snitsky wasn't a thing, so it wasn't his fault. Just poor taste. I mean, the match was okay, but Shamrock is the man that looks like a star here, and I love Goldust. This was also during another dark time in his life before he sobered up.
Yeah, man, we just keep going back to a very, very dark place when it comes to this. Maybe this is not the best. Nope, we're still good because next matchup here. This is a matchup in which literally Miz, hey, you may have lost very quickly at Super Showdown, but at least you didn't do bad as this matchup here. The Rock came out not expecting who his opponent would be. Then I think it was Pat Patterson said we got a last minute substitution. Sorry, that's my best Pat Patterson. I apologize.
That was Briscoe.
Oh, Briscoe did it?
It was either both of them. It was supposed to be It was supposed to be Triple H.
Oh, that's right. He got injured.
This is when he had his knee injury because, well, it was shoot injured in the ladder match. But then you had Ken Shamrock slamming the leg in his door to write him off television. And the Stooges came out to DX's theme music. Because you think Triple H is coming, but then out walks the Stooges. I mean, that was more out of place than when they used Hulk Hogan's theme.
God, they just... I will say this. For all the crap that we can give the Stooges, they at least found a way to make them either talked about or at least a bit entertaining. It's one of those things where, yeah, you come out to hear DX's music, it's like, okay, here comes, a member of DX, here comes Triple H. Nope, here comes the Stooges. What? It's kind of like when Paul Heyman came out to CM Punk's theme in Chicago.
Troll.
Yeah.
Or Shawn Michaels doing hitting Bret Hart's theme in Montreal, way before Bret actually came back. And, resident Canadian here, did that one ever piss me off.
Got your hopes up just a little bit there, didn't I?
Just a bit. I'm like, I didn't buy it because, Bret Hart's, the Hart's my favorite of all. Owen Hart is my favorite. And then you got Bret as, just trailing off of him, and seeing that just, ugh. Briscoe is cringe. I mean, he's one of the best wrestlers of all time. You could hear stories about him, you can't take him down. Even Kurt Angle tried. Kurt Angle can't take him down. Even today, friggin' if Chad Gable or someone tried to do it today, Briscoe would tie him up in a pretzel.
Oh, God.
Mr. McMahon informed me, Triple H won't be here tonight, and he'll be heavily fined. Dude, he's injured. Come on. I got a replacement. And who's the replacement?
Big Boss, man. Just come. He doesn't even take that much time. He just runs down to the ring thinking, it's going to be an easy victory. Not necessarily for him. So bell rings, quick roll up, 1, 2, 3. Rock advances in probably the fastest tournament matchup of all time. 3-second matchup, and still, there's literally nothing that can touch that. It's going to be super hard to even touch it unless you do a fast count. There's no way you're going to break that match time.
It's like you're playing No Mercy and you're just trolling your friends as the special guest referee. You do one move and, or the Shane McMahon quick count from a certain pay-per-view I'm not going to name because someone unfortunately passed at that pay-per-view.
Oh,
so. We're not going to name it. We all know what it is, but I also remember the ending to that because I watched that pay-per-view live.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Moving on.
It's kind of like one of those things where it's the one title reign of Undertaker's that nobody wants to remember just because of that night for more than one reason. But anyway, speaking of the Undertaker, he and Kane are in a quarterfinal matchup. So this is kind of interesting because basically they did a deal where it's okay, Undertaker, you're in the tournament. Kane, you're in the tournament. Hey, you don't have anybody fighting against you in the first round. Oh, would you look at that? You're fighting each other in the quarterfinals.
Again.
That's right. I remember. I think that this was kind of like the... oh, man, what's that feud that really got old real fast? Oh, yeah, Cena and Orton. I think that this was legitimately one of those times where it's okay, we've seen this match before. If you had done something differently, we would have been okay with that. And eventually they got it where it's okay, let's mix in new people. Let's mix in Big Show and X-Pac. It's not improving by much, but at least it's still different. But yeah, we get Undertaker versus Kane. Again, Paul Bearer's in Undertaker's corner. Definitely one of those matches that... let's just say this, that compared to all the other matches, I don't think it really holds too well. I mean,
nope.
you had Undertaker versus Kane earlier on at that WrestleMania, then you had the Infernal match, then you had them involved with the whole deal with Stone Cold Steve Austin, where they headlined the two pay-per-views twice. So it's okay, we've seen these two battle each other enough, just end it. Which, no shock here, guys. It's not over. God dang it all.
This match sucked. However, that Ministry theme, criminally underrated entrance theme from the Attitude Era. Even that 14 years old during when I was during this pay-per-view. It gave me chills. I'm 34 now, and it still gives me chills. So they're doing something right.
Oh, that dun 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 or whatever that was. I don't know.
The friggin' violence.
Oh.
Reminds me of like a Linkin Park song, kind of. Rest in peace, Chester.
Oh, God. But yeah, Undertaker defeats Kane. He advances on. Literally, it's like, okay, we're at least getting something different.
I'm sorry, did you see all the laser pointers in this match? I mean, they were prevalent during the whole era, but this match was just outrageous. Like, it was annoying.
It probably shows you. It probably shows you how much of a crap they gave for this matchup.
Probably, and you hear always, even during this time, especially when they went overseas, you hear like all the friggin' air horns like every 2 seconds.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Like, vuvuzelas. I mean, you're at a World Cup game or you're at a wrestling event. I mean, if Lord willing, next year I go to SummerSlam. It's a couple hours away in Toronto. If I see one air horn, I'm going to pop it. I don't know how I'll pop it, like a beach ball. By the way, Ant, thanks for popping them at Evolution. You're a fucking hero. And there was one sign. I always pay attention to the signs here, but there was one at the entranceway, I think at the end of the match. Hebner fears Doan, as in referee Shane Doan. What, is he afraid that he's going to sell Shane Doan's off-brand t-shirt out of his van or something? Like, jeez.
I don't know, dude. I mean, the Attitude Era, it had some ups, it had some downs, it had some weird stuff. Sometimes
and Paul Bearer turning on, just being a slovenly jerk, and I think he was. I think he was doing something with Kane, or like they were alluding to him coming back with Kane or something. But he just bops him.
Yeah. Honestly, I think people have to remember that before we had Brie Bella doing the whole "Come on, Nikki, come on, Nikki," we had Paul Bearer going the yes, or just doing no. I remember his match with I think it was either him and Mankind and Shawn, or Mankind and Taker. But there were so many moments where he's just getting all mad, just like no, that was 3. It's like what, dude? Seriously, hit puberty or something.
Jim Cornette there for a second, man.
Oh God, did I really? Oh my gosh, no disrespect. I do not want Jim Cornette to come after me. I'd rather him not tear me a new asshole. Thank you very much.
He'll take you to Wendy's for an extra cheese, extra mayo.
I could see him just doing that at a McDonald's or something like that. Okay, now I'm just inviting it. Anyway, we're moving on. We had Al Snow taking on Mankind in the next quarterfinal matchup here. Honestly, again, Al Snow just tremendous in this matchup, and it's against his, I guess you could say, quote-unquote, former friend, Mankind. Again, another really good matchup between the two of them. Mankind would eventually lock in the Mandible Claw and force Al Snow to... Is it a pass-out or a submission deal? I can't remember exactly what it was.
It's kind of a pass-out move, but
okay.
Before we got to Mr. Did you notice what happened to Mr. Sacco?
No, I didn't.
It was wrapped around Head.
What?
Yeah, it was like, well, it looked like Head was wearing like a headband, so I guess you were shouting out, one of Al Snow's former gimmicks of Avatar or Shinobi. It was wrapped around wrapped around Head for some reason. I don't know if Al Snow did it for mind games, or if someone did it backstage, or I forget, because I know I was watching during this time. I don't even remember, but there's another sign. Yeah, sign watch 98 OVE 316. I wonder if that's a young Sammy Callahan.
Oh my gosh!
Even though it was probably OVE or something like that, but I saw that and I saw him at what was the last one? Bound for Glory.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was watching Bound for Glory the other week. There's OVEs everywhere. They're taking over everything, even in 1998.
Apparently so. But of course, Mankind, he advances to the semifinals. He would be pitted against Stone Cold Steve Austin, which we will mention the fact that he got a bye due to the Steven Regal X-Pac double count out no finish deal. So we got that slated. Now, question is, who is going to be fighting The Undertaker in the other semifinal matchup? Well, we find out who that was going to be when we have The Rock versus Ken Shamrock again. But at the same time, I look at this and I think to myself, at least again, they found a way to make it interesting, where whether it was putting the IC title on the line, whether it had huge implications for it. Wasn't this also the year that they had that triple threat cage match? So yeah, they had
Mankind at Breakdown, and that was in Hamilton, Ontario. Shout out Canada. Hamilton. Yeah, that was a triple threat cage match, and weirdly enough, the stipulation was a number one contender match.
Yeah, that's right. I remember that. And then they had the non-weird but screwy finish, and then it's kind of like one of those things where it's like, well, we just threw that out the window. But it's kind of one of those things where it all comes full circle in this night in a weird way.
In a way, it does. Yes. Speaking of full circle,
oh please,
I have to mention that this feud has been going on for over a year. Last year, Survivor Series 1997, on a night where, absolutely nothing iconic happened, wink wink, these two were the finalists of their respective Survivor Series teams.
Oh.
And Ken Shamrock made them submit.
That's right. So it was kind of one of those things where, again, God dang it, that's the theme of this whole entire deal. It's that everything's coming full circle in this event, whether it's number one contenders deals or just rivalry wise. It's all coming full circle. A year ago, Ken Shamrock made Rock tap out. A year later, they're fighting off in the quarterfinals to determine who's going to be the WWF champion. Again, I'd say a pretty good matchup between Rock and Shamrock. I don't think that there's really too many matches that I could think of where it was horrible. Maybe the screwy finish to WrestleMania 14's matchup was the only exception to the rule, but other than that, I don't think this rivalry's been that bad at all.
It was very good. I think I went to a house show 3 days after the Montreal incident, right? Just outside of Toronto. I think these two had a match, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe Shamrock had a match with somebody else, but even back then, it's a full circle, and the heat that The Rock had.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Compared to the reactions he got here.
Yeah, it's really crazy because of the fact that back then I think the roles were reversed, where Shamrock was more the face and Rock was the heel. Now we're a year later, Rock is the face and Shamrock is the heel. Big Boss Man, hey, look at this guy. He's trying to get involved again. He's like, hey Ken, take my toy. He throws in like a nice little police baton. Rock is just like, nope, mine. Boop. Takes out Ken Shamrock and just and defeats him to advance to the semifinal matchup. So we got Mankind versus Stone Cold and The Rock versus The Undertaker. But before we get into that, we have to endure. Oh God, help me!
No,
I want to just.
No.
I just want to say like 30 seconds of this and then move on from it. We had the WWF women's title matchup. Yes, they had a women's title back then. Jacqueline defended against Sable. Oh God, that hurts me right in my chest. Oh, but then it gets worse because Sable becomes new women's champion. Oh, jeez.
Are you boys ready for the grind? Okay.
Oh.
Real talk.
Please, by all means.
I'm going through puberty at this time, okay? At the time, Sable was Roll Tide. Enough said. Her wrestling work, the less they're said about it, the better. International Shit Smuggler, too, in 1999. But anyways...
Yeah, let's just say this, guys, that we had shit with Eva Marie in this era.
That was at least funny.
Okay, fair enough.
The I'll Read Everything will not be here due to her vacation in Aruba. She's never seen again. I'd welcome her back.
That is kind of funny.
I honestly would. Just not. Actually, no, it would be funny if she Troll won the women's title, but, unfortunately that means, okay, who do you lose? I mean, there's no way in hell I want to see Becky Lynch lose anytime soon. And Ronda Rousey. So, just put her in as a troll role.
Yeah, might as well. We're moving on. We're moving on from this matchup. We have the other semifinal match. We have the semifinal matchup of Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Mankind. Of course, everybody's thinking like, okay, we're getting Stone Cold Steve Austin. It's going to be great. Unfortunately, due to shenanigans by the one and only higher powers that might be Mr. Vince Kennedy McMahon, he accomplished it.
Austin, oh, son of a bitch!
God dang it. I could just see him just doing that. I think, wasn't this matchup, if I remember correctly, didn't Shane ref this matchup, if I'm not mistaken?
Nope.
Okay.
Wait. Yes.
Because I thought there was a point where Stone Cold had the match won, and then Shane does like a 2 count, and then he maybe flips off Austin or something like that.
Yeah, that this is the one. Yeah,
okay, yes. I'm actually right about something.
Yeah.
But yeah, that eventually costs him the matchup. Mankind would advance to the finals, and of course everybody's thinking like, "Oh great, here we go. We're gonna get the damn corporate champion. Great, we lost our boy Stone Cold. Now it's going to be given to this random dude, this random guy in a suit, no less." Yeah, basically, guys, think of it this way: before we had corporate Kane, we had Mankind in a suit. And when Mankind was in a suit, at least it was entertaining. When Kane was in a suit in the ring, God help us. I'm just going to say that.
Well, this one, Mankind, I think in this match he lost his suit. And at some point I saw him either throwing or using a shoe as a weapon. Who throws a shoe? Honestly.
Just got the Austin Powers gif right there.
Like, really, and I love both. Like, Mick Foley and Steve Austin are in my top. Frig, if they're not in my top 10, they're in my top 5. This match was a rough watch. I mean, a pile driver on a chair doesn't get a 3 count. I mean, you're Steve Austin. You're not a neck type. Thank you. Pile driver on the head.
Yeah.
And Briscoe with the worst chair shot I have ever seen in my life.
Oh God,
that,
that's right.
That was the Jenna Maraska slap of chair shots.
Oh God.
I hope you don't remember Jenna Maraska, because I unfortunately do, and I blame OSW for that shite. They always bring her up when they talk about terrible, female wrestlers who are nothing but eye candy and can't do anything. It's like, oh, look at the slaps on Jenna Maraska. What a C-word.
Yeah, I remember her, and I remember the worst pay-per-view match of all time. Let's not even go into that, because we already had to deal with that with Sable becoming champion.
But Vince ate a stunner.
Which is always good.
Shane McMahon referee spot, it was perfect. And speaking of full circle, Steve Austin, I mean, this is going to come into play in the 99, so remember that.
This is also very true. We had the other tournament semifinal matchup, The Rock versus The Undertaker. Now, how appropriate would it be if The Undertaker were to win the WWF title here at Survivor Series? 8 years ago on this event, he made his debut, so it seemed like, kind of those things were like, okay, you can see somebody doing that. Well...
91. What did he do at 91 Survivor Series?
That's right, he won the title from Hulk Hogan, who supposedly got knocked out during that deal, even though the videotapes clearly show that his head was knocked out.
Missed the chair by a
Wow,
mile.
way to sell. Way to sell, Hogan. You're a good seller, just like Dolph Ziggler. Nope, that's insulting Dolph Ziggler. I'm sorry.
His selling is about as effective as Jeff Jarrett selling gold.
I'll give you that. I think that's a perfect way to put it. Match itself was this? I think this was another decent one. I think a lot of people thought the Undertaker was indeed going over. He was pretty dominant in this matchup for the most part. Rock still got some offense in, But, yeah, remember what we were bitching about earlier about getting enough of Undertaker and Kane? Yeah.
And Boss Man.
And Boss Man. We got more of that, ladies and gentlemen. Because
Rock Autumn calls him a fat piece of trash.
Oh, Jesus. And we say it's Undertaker he's cost the matchup by his own brother Kane. Oh, God, how could we not see this coming? Rock advances to this final matchup. So, literally, I mean, we're pumped for the final matchup. Trust me, we are. It's just, these semifinal matches were just hard. They were tough.
Slug.
I mean,
tough match. Ugh.
I mean, grand total with these two matches is roughly about 20 minutes. So 20 minutes of these two matches, it's just like, oh, God, this is like watching... why? Why? That's all I really have to say.
This is like watching my Toronto Maple Leafs in like 2014 when they finished last.
Oh, man.
But they got a high draft pick. They got Austin Matthews. Anyways, this isn't hockey talk. Next match.
All right.
No, I don't want to talk about the next match either.
Oh, no, that's right. We had a triple threat match for the tag team titles. We had the New Age Outlaws taking on D'Lo Brown and Mark Henry, as well as the Headbangers.
The heel Headbangers. Oh, man. Okay. I'm a heavy metal kid.
Right.
I grew up listening to, your Metallica, your Megadeth, AC/DC, you name it. And when the Headbangers were face, I mean, me and my cousin, like, they were over. Heel Headbangers or the Outlaws Buttbangers. And the Nation of Domination theme playing for the D'Lo and Mark Henry, despite the fact that the Nation had dissolved at this point, and D'Lo is still wearing the iconic chest protector.
D'Lo Brown was another gem for professional wrestling, so it's kind of one of those things where it's like no matter what he does, he just finds a way to continue to do great. And I think that this is still at the point where Henry and D'Lo were still tight, because I think if I remember correctly, the following year we would get a lot of the IC title, European title unification deals, as well as the madness that happened.
1999.
Yep, just basically a bunch of madness going on. So we get a little bit of this kind of like soft deal here. But yeah, this matchup was not really too much worth talking about. We ended up with the New Age Outlaws retaining, and God help me, why was the? Oh God, I can also see why you suggested the idea that I rebook WrestleMania 15, because I'm remembering that's like, yeah, New Age Outlaws, they were tag team champions. Are they that way going into WrestleMania? Nope. Hey, Billy Gunn, you're going to be the hardcore champion. Hey, Road Dogg, you're going to be the IC champion.
Despite the fact they're going for different titles.
What the absolute hell is going on with this world? It's kind of
go ahead first. I got something.
Oh God, it's like what the hell kind of universe do we live in where it's like, hey, no, we're going for different championships, even though people were supposed to be. I think it was supposed to be flopped around. I think people were saying, no, it's got to be Billy's supposed to be going for the IC title, and Road Dogg's supposed to be for the hardcore title. And it's like, let's change it up. Let's just switch it around. Great.
I'm going to the New Age Outlaws for everybody right now. So if you're a New Age Outlaws fan, I apologize in advance.
I don't.
During this time I loved the New Age Outlaws. I love DX, but I'm quoting the Attitude Era podcast again. Kevin, thank you. For this one, New Age Outlaws matches, every single one is the same. Just watch. Road Dogg gets the shite kicked out of him, hot tag to Billy Gunn, and that's it. Basically, and then they win with they never had a effective tag finisher. Once they used a spike pile driver or Billy Gunn used a jackhammer. Come on, you're not Goldberg.
No.
And that was it, yeah. That's literally every match is just nothing but that. And it's you get a hot tag, and it's total weak sauce.
Yeah, and I think this is the purest example of that. New Age Outlaws retain, yada, yada, yada. All right. Incredible happy thoughts right now because we get The Rock versus Mankind in the finals of the tournament, in which we will crown a new WWF champion. Obviously, as we mentioned before, Mankind's coming in here as kind of the heel, but I think there are still some hardcore fans that really wanted to see Foley win the title. But of course, The Rock is kind of the odds-on favorite to win. A lot of people are seeing him, conquering everything. Of course, we get just massive interference everywhere, left and right, and every which way. But it was still, honestly, probably my favorite matchup of the night, despite, how it kind of ended. I love the chemistry that The Rock and Mankind, have. And it was a prelude to what was to come in the very distant future, because it boiled over into 1999 with their rivalry. I really, like I said, I love the chemistry that they have in the ring, and a lot of times when they mention, stuff in the past, I know Rock definitely mentions the fact that, he's like one of the most sick, twisted SOBs that I've ever wrestled with, but honestly would still love to, compete against him, and I would honestly love him on my side than against me, which can't really blame him, which eventually that's what happened, and we got one of the greatest tag teams of all time, Rock is Not Connection. Come on, fight me now, come on.
Yeah, so good. This match was a bit of a mess. It's funny, there's a couple of spots. Well, first off, you see the McMahons, because of course, that's that spot where Mick Foley had the steel steps and Mankind bopped him with the chair. And when they went through the table, you could see, their dirt sheet. You can see their bracket, like a paper bracket.
Oh my God!
On the announce table, it didn't show anything of the winners. It just showed the bracket itself, and I think they might have been jotting it down throughout the night as who won.
Yeah, that's a crucial fail.
And you get the Spanish table. I mean, come on, why are you always going after them? That's racist.
It's so true. It's so true, actually. But I think that over the years they've definitely changed that. I think I see a lot more of the regular announce tables, get utilized a bit more than the Spanish announce tables. But now every time they go through the Spanish announce table, I'm just going to be like, at Fretz, here come the racist remarks.
Hey, you know what? They have a German announce team. It's like, well, you go through the German announce table. Well, the name Fretz is German. So even though, my family's been here for at least 5-6 generations, I'll still take it personally.
Yeah, I would also make the comment where it's like, I am waiting for somebody to try and make a Pearl Harbor joke. I'm not going to, but it's one of those things where...
Someone actually... Okay.
Oh, God.
OSW uses it all the time, right?
Yeah.
However, there was a southern wrestling from it was at least the 80s or the 90s, and I don't know if it was a wrestler with a Asian gimmick or not, or with a insert heel or Iraq something here. He jumps a guy from behind, and the announcer's like, Pearl Harbor! He Pearl Harbors him!
Oh my God! So, literally, I guess that's the line where you just say the word Pearl Harbor. I love wrestling, but wrestling is also weird. It's again, I love wrestling. Wrestling is weird. What do you expect? Of course, everybody remembers the finish of this matchup. Rock, he locks in the sharpshooter on Mankind, and we're expecting, oh man, there's going to be a little struggle between the two of them. Vince McMahon says, nope, ring the bell, and we get... 1 year later, I guess we'll call it the St. Louis screwjob, because it was in St. Louis, Missouri, and we get the ultimate swerve in The Rock turning on the fans and becoming a heel. And I do remember the whole deal where Mankind, he always looked at Vince as a quote-unquote father figure, so there's this deal where he just says, Dad, this wasn't how it's supposed to go down. I was supposed to win the belt. And then Vince is just like, well, yeah, but you know what? Rock, clunk, knocks him down. And again, we get the beginning of the corporation era, in which The Rock is the corporate champion. And of course, they do a little promo afterwards to kind of heavily promote him. And then The Rock, of course, turns his back on the people. God damn, just... he could do anything. Just as soon as we think, like, oh, we're getting babyface Rock, it's like, nope, you're still getting heel Rock. I hate everything.
Looking back, for one, there was a line in here, I think it was like, Stone Cold screwed, Stone Cold. You're on such bad terms with Bret Hart that you're still going through this. I mean, unfortunately, it took Bret Hart having a stroke for them to kind of cross the bridge. And this pay-per-view, I remember it was one of those ones I said that my friends taped for me. And here's a neat little nitpick. In November 1998, I'm in 9th grade.
Right.
Doo Wop by Lauryn Hill is dominating the airwaves. And what's in movie theaters? Waterboy. And who's in Waterboy? Who makes a cameo in the very beginning of the movie? Captain Insano.
Oh, yeah, Captain Insano, a.k.a. Paul White, a.k.a. Part of the big barnyard Big Show.
The Big Show, yeah, okay. And he comes into play later with Austin, but this was, peak Attitude Era. And like my friends and I quote this. We watch this all the time. I hated this pay-per-view in 1998 because I was an Austin guy through and through. I wanted him to win so bad. And then I remember Rock. It's like, yeah, The Rock's kind of cool, but he's a dick. I mean, come on. But everyone was quoting him. Everyone was loving him. And looking back on this now, this was a hard watch. I mean, some of these matches. I mean, you had Undertaker and Kane. It's not like they're going to be in the ring 20 years later, right?
Right. Oh, God. Damn it all. That took me a second.
It's all right. And you Taker and Rock, preview of the 1999 King of the Ring. Cheap plug, that's another one that I'm going to be reviewing, rebooking on Fretzlemania.wordpress.com in the new year. Other than that, I mean, you had it didn't stop. The pay-per-view was go, no backstage crap. And it's still kind of stank. I mean, I love the whole cheesy, it's a deadly game. And of course, we can't forget, the real man's man.
Probably one of our favorite theme musics of all time.
That's my favorite part of the whole pay-per-view. And I almost forgot this.
Yeah.
So in about 2010, 2011, Daniel Bryan and William Regal had a match on Superstars in England. You know where I'm going with this, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I tell the story, please. This is amazing.
Okay, so out comes William Regal. He's having a match with Daniel Bryan, and I think it's not in Liverpool, but it's somewhere in England.
I think it's Birmingham, if I'm not mistaken.
Birmingham, yeah, that's not too far. I think that's not too far. UK fan, who's Matt Wilson? He's from the UK, right? Quote me on this, bud. Help me out.
I think so.
Okay, Matty Wilson, shout out. Gift of podcast and what's 96.6?
Something like that.
Some number anyway, and man, so shout out. Oh, by the way, RW, I have the cheap plug. I'm wearing an Ant today, so there you go.
For those of you that can't tell, he's wearing a Rant with Ant t-shirt, so be sure to buy their merch on represent.com. Definitely got to do a cheap plug for them. Not really associated with them, but we would like to be. Rant with It. I'm throwing that out there, by all means. Anyway, continue. William Regal out in UK.
Okay, so you get his awesome, theme. Iconic. He's walking to the ring, then all of a sudden you hear, he's a man, such a man. Sorry, everyone's earwaves. He looks back at the Titantron. He's just like, what the heck? He starts laughing his ass off, and Daniel Bryan's in the ring just laughing. So someone in the truck, or maybe Daniel Bryan had someone in the truck, had to play a little rib on William Regal. So he came out they played about one bar of Real Man's Man while he was walking to the ring, and he's just like looking at him, smiling, shaking his head, just like, you got me, you son of a bitch. You broke me. It's like, William Regal, he's probably an easy guy to break. I mean, you hear legendary stories about people trying to make Stone Cold pop. And you have, like, Mick Foley and somebody, probably Bob Holly or else, go and have intentionally the worst match of all time, and you use things as weapons that, the late, great Owen Hart would have used. Like, the fact that he used a Kleenex on Edge, just... Yeah, so, yeah, that legendary rip, you can still see it on YouTube. It's like, just look up William Regal versus Daniel Bryan, and it's a good match. I mean, it's a stiff one.
Yeah, because this was during the time where I think Daniel Bryan was Mr. Money in the Bank, so they had to slowly try to build up his credibility, which, of course, we all know that really never happened too much because they can't get behind a little man. Which, by the way, make Finn Balor Universal Champion again. God dang it, we need... You had him as the first one, you gave him a rematch, great, but we need him to have a run. We need him to have another run. Just...
Hot take? He'll get one in 2019.
Oh, gosh,
He's
please.
going to be the one who unseats Drew McIntyre.
Ooh, don't you tease me with that. I want to see Demon Balor versus the Scottish Terminator, Drew McIntyre. I want that so bad now.
Now, if you get that at SummerSlam, I mean, I will walk to Toronto. I don't have a car. I'll walk to Toronto. I'll start paying people to pick me up. And I'm not too far from the border, so hey, cheap plug. There you go.
I will not only show up for that show, I will literally say, like, where can I donate? I want to donate something to Canada as a way to say thank you, please. Just, I need something to donate. Oh, well, we have this nice little area here where we help benefits with kids and stuff like that. Yes, done. I don't care. Thank you, Canada. I love you right now.
Toronto, there's a lot of, peddlers. There's a lot of, homeless in Toronto, so.
Really?
Oh, yeah. The city's huge, right? So.
Oh, that is true.
A lot of homeless. There's a lot of opportunity there for donation.
Yes.
A lot of charities.
Sweet. But getting back to what we're talking about with the Deadly Games tournament, honestly, like you said, there were spots where it was really tough to go through. But, despite all this rough bumps and the stupid decisions and some of the really bad matches on here, it still sticks out to all of us as one of the most memorable nights of WWE's history because of the fact that you not only were building up a star in Mankind, you were also giving us fan favorites like Stone Cold Steve Austin. You continued on the McMahon-Austin rivalry that they had. You built up Rock as a big star, and then you just swerve us at the end with one of the biggest deals, which honestly, I will say this, that there was an article that was left out to where people were suggesting ideas as to why Vince McMahon does not want to please everybody. But it's one of those things where it's like, well, we just want people to, have somebody to basically root for, like a hero to come beat the bad guy. And I think that's what they're trying to do with Brock. Honestly, we don't always need that, and that is not an excuse for putting on such horrible deals. I mean, back in the day, back in 1998, I mean, nobody was doing flips and flying deals and stuff like that. So they at least had some excuse. But now we're in 2018, and we're still seeing such horrible decision-making, such horrible stuff going on. It's like, no, we can't just stick around in one era. You have to move on and do some incredible stuff. I mean, All In was one of the first big independent deals in which we see absolutely amazing stuff. Was it all about high flying? No. It was all about the great storytelling that was going on during the matchup. It was the match qualities that they created. It was about putting on matches that nobody thought that they would see. I mean, for the love of God, Pentagon Dark versus Kenny Omega, please, give me the rematch. Give me another one. I was very impressed with Marty Scurll versus Okada. I mean, yes, you saw. It's a big guy versus a small guy, but they made it legitimately awesome.
Okay, I have to say, my favorite moment, maybe of the entire pay-per-view in that match, was when, Okada is about to hit the Rainmaker. No, Umbrella. He's a watertight bitch.
Oh my God.
That penis druid part was weird. I'm like, no.
I mean, it's one of those things where the penis druid thing with Joey Ryan, we get it. It's one of those things where it kind of adds the entertainment value, and it's, of course, Joey Ryan. I'm at the point where I've just accepted it, but it was one of those things where it's like, this is weird, but somehow surprisingly, entertainingly awesome at the same time.
Yeah, like the freaking. It's like he's awake, and it's like the camera pans to his junk, and it's like it's he's getting hurt or something.
it's
like,
one of those,
what?
It's kind of it's kind of one of those things where it's like you do realize that people have seen Magic Mike, so literally the first comment they're going to say is, "I've seen bigger." So
that's what my ex said.
Oh God damn! Don't make this.
Just kidding. That nothing's ever happened. So
I have the genetic jackhammer. God damn! I remember that moment. I think. Oh God dang it! I'm not even going to go into that.
Nope.
So, of course, Deadly Games. If I were to give this like a final grade, I would give it. I'd probably give it a C+. Like I said, it's you combine everything here. There was not so much in the way of backstage deals. There's not so much in the way of stupid promos, except for one that just, let's not even talk about that. But honestly, some of the matches were still pretty good. The final swerve at the end was the one thing that kind of tied everything together. And honestly, it's one of those things that, looking back at it, it still made a lot of sense. Where, Rock was one of those guys who was just saying, like, I was relying on the people, and you know what it got me? It didn't get me anywhere. I rely on the corporation. They're giving me everything. So it's kind of one of those things where it's like, wow, this really works out. Now, obviously, in the future, he would be a hypocrite because then he relies on the people to really get what he wants. But you know something? It's fine. Rock is one of those things where...
He was too over. You couldn't make him a heel, even when he was Hollywood Rock. And even when he... this is fast-forwarding, but remember the build-up to Backlash 99 when he threw Austin off a bridge?
Oh...
And they have the mock funeral, dearly trailer park trash.
Yeah, I actually
like my class quoted the shit out of that. Like, he's too good.
Yeah, I think. Well, actually, I think it might. Yeah, it might have been 98, or it might have been like earlier on. But I do remember that because I remember they were feuding for the IC title during that point. Where, yeah, or no. You're right. Never mind. Now I remember. That was for the WWF title.
They did for the IC title.
Yeah.
And I think a bridge was involved in that one, too.
That's true. Yeah, that's right. What the frick?
Full circle, Nate. Full circle.
That is...
That's all this business is.
Well, nowadays, that circle has had a lot of bumps, or it's going in a different direction, so it literally looks like...
It's going in an octagon with Brock Lesnar and the Universal title.
Yeah.
Shout out to the Demon Diva for that one. You were right, Issa.
You know what? I'm not going to admit that to her.
Let's not go there. Let's not get on her bad side.
You know what?
Please stop listening now.
you know something. I will say this, and this is going to be how we're going to end it. I've heard a lot of people basically say that I should not get on Demon Diva's bad side, but I feel like I'm the one person that's literally like, you know what? I'm actually not intimidated. I know that she has her finisher is like the heel on heel, which is basically a super kick with stilettos. It's one of those things where it's like, really? So you're doing a move that everybody's doing. Literally. Go ahead.
Super kick with a stiletto, and then she'll then I can see this, drag down the foot just a little bit so you get a big scratch down your face.
I can see myself just countering that and being like, everybody does a super kick now, and just being able to counter that. So it's one of those things where if she tries to hit me with a super kick, I'm always going to have a counter for it. So I'm literally now in this point where it's like, you know what, Demon Diva, you're the reason why I didn't win at frickin' Hell in the Cell. You're the reason why I had to eat hot sauce, and you're the reason why my butt was completely sore. So you know something? I'm going to say it right now. I'm pulling a Shinsuke Nakamura and saying, come on! I don't care. I'm literally now at the point where it's like, just bring it. So, with that being said, thank you, Fretz, for coming on the show, for reviewing, as we said, a very memorable pay-per-view in the Deadly Games. Always fun doing this. And guys, you can always check him out on his Twitter at, where can they find you?
At the Legendary JF on Twitter and Instagram, and on the blog, which is Fretzlemania, FRETZLE, mania.wordpress.com.
Wow.
And I had just last night released a review, was it a review or a rebooking of Who Ran Over Stone Cold Steve Austin. You might see some, I had to do some research, so I looked into, to what culture. I might have used a little bit there, not plagiarism, but I just put my twist on a couple things. So if you want to read that, go for it. And eventually I'll be releasing reviews of the upcoming NXT and Survivor Series, and I'm going to brave this one in December and review December to Dismember.
Whew. Yeah, I know.
Because I own that DVD. I bought it for like $2 at Goodwill. I'm like, okay, this is just going to look funny on my shelf.
Oh, man. That just shows you how much worth that was. And honestly, you guys, I did get a chance to do a rebooking of that event. Be sure to check that out. I know I'm trying to get the fantasy booking videos ready for iHeartRadio for December, so hopefully that'll be approved by then. iHeartRadio, please, by all means, approve that. People want to listen to this. There's a lot of good stuff that I have for the 12 days of fantasy bookings for December. So that's coming up for December for the Game Changer. A lot of other stuff that's coming on, including guest appearances by us on the Game Changer. We will be appearing on the Kings of the Rings podcast to talk about this weekend, in which we have NXT TakeOver War Games. Might as well call it War Games 2 for at this point, because we're getting a second War Games matchup. Dear God, I don't think I can survive this. And also Survivor Series, giving our predictions, and basically destroying the Kings of the Rings brick by brick. And I'm looking forward to it. Also on Friday, you guys, is the show in which I will have Will from Kings of the Ring podcast guest star on that. Thursday, of course, we have the classic episode with myself and Victory Bell. And this weekend, of course, Survivor Series weekend. It's going to be absolutely amazing.
It absolutely is. I'm not sure how much of the pay-per-view I'm going to watch. I'm going to give a shout-out to my nephew, who turns 4 on Thursday, and I believe I might be going to their place on Sunday for some fun.
Oh, well, happy birthday to the nephew Fretz.
I will be watching, if I don't watch it on Sunday, I will watch it on Monday, and depending on the result, spoiler alert, it's going to be a victory, I'll be doing maybe a live reaction or something like that on Twitter.
Booyah.
Perhaps.
Booyah. All right, and also, guys, I should also mention this, that I will have a special announcement to make on the Kings of the Rings podcast, so definitely tune into that, because you definitely do not want to miss it. It is indeed going to be another game changer, because that's what we do. So thank you guys so much for being a part of this. Like I said, tune in and follow me on Twitter, follow us on Facebook. Also, shout-outs go out to so many people, including the Rant with Antcast, as well as the Kings of the Rings podcast. You know what? We're going to throw out Who's Next, as well as Gift to the Podcast. All you guys on Wrestle Addict Radio definitely deserve a shout-out. You do a great job, and looking forward to working with most of you guys, if not all of you guys, in the near future. Who knows? We'll see what happens. But, guys, we are just closing in on the final few pay-per-views before 2019 arrives, so definitely tune in to Survivor Series this Sunday on the WWE Network for the low price of $9.99, or for new subscribers, which is basically almost everybody, can get it for free. Yay! WWE marketing, making dumb decisions since 1990. Ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, for Mr. Fretz, I've been Nate the Effing Great. This has been the Game Changer. Have a good one. And just remember, there are a lot of crazy things that happen in wrestling, but whatever. All right. Adios. Bye-bye. And just remember that we're going to continue to shock the system.
Shock
the system.